or chronically Caucasian vocal analyst, and we're redoing the entirety of Tokyo Dome. I never really finished it, but we're redoing it so that members can have the uncut versions and admire this bowl cut. It's very important. Come on, entrance. Look at that entrance. Come on. Her sense of showmanship is impeccable. It's really good. Ooh. Ooh. Hold on. This like little thing, this slide that I missed. That's so cool. I love it. It's really, really hard when you're singing in a group, you know, you can't put a time signature or a specific rhythm on a glissando, right? Ooh, ooh, right? You can go fast, you can go slow. You can't notate that, and it's very difficult. So you have to be really, really, really in sync with one another. And Mariah Carey has the best in the business. Her backup singers are absolutely incredible. Whew. Whew. So, you know, I think a lot of people would probably say, like, that's not high, right? But the challenge of a high note depends on a couple factors. That slide, I'm still gushing over it. So sustaining a note is obviously more difficult, right? And the thing with belt that's really, really precarious is that if you put too much air behind it, you're going to cause possibly a vocal injury. So what belting is that there's two theories. This is one of them. The cricoid cartilage, which is at the base of your larynx, if that tilts, that fattens the folds. And so as air builds up, boom, that would be a vocal hemorrhage if there's too much air, right? But Mariah Carey is cool as a cucumber opening up the show, right? The level of confidence it takes to open the show with powerful belting. I mean, you know, if you're nervous, your breath can really not be with you. So I think it's a really cool start off, even if these are not the highest belts. They're well done. They're like really well executed. So
I've never been so satisfied.
I love the way, so she's doing what are called aspirate abrupts. And I'll get to that in a second.
I've never been so satisfied.
So okay, let's dig up some science stuff. Yes. You see that, like, here, I'll send this in. Boom. You see how there's that big flat like boosh? What happens is that this tail here is just breath. It's white noise. So the way that the vocal folds come together is, I need like a dedicated piece of paper to this. The way that the vocal folds come together is what's called the Bernoulli effect. As I blow through these two pieces of paper, they actually come closer together. You know, nature abhors a vacuum and all that. So this would be the abrupt, and she's using that to emphasize certain rhythms. That's cool for different reasons, but
I've never been so satisfied.
that little yodel is an aspirate abrupt.
I've never been so satisfied.
And it's cool too, like, Mariah Carey is very, very, very unique in that using aspirates, which is just a sound, right? And you can do a couple of things with them. There's aspirate abrupt, there's aspirate gradual, yada, yada, yada. But because she has nodules or polyps or whichever one, sometimes she's just inherently breathy, but that makes for like really interesting transitions between the aspirates. It's just really cool.
When you touch me tenderly.
So these breathy moments here are worth covering.
When you touch me tenderly.
So it's worth asking the question, how is she breathy here? And then how does she go to a belt? Remember what we talked about with belts is that the folds become really short and fat, right? So even if you have polyps, right? Like, let's say my knuckles are kind of an obstruction, right? This would be a polyp. Well, if you're making your folds really fat and thick, all of a sudden there's more surface area, right? So it's the folds are closer together, whereas a polyp would sort of prevent them from becoming really, really close together. So she's using the fact that she has polyps to create like a breathy, delicate, like, flexible tone. And then she's going to belt, and that inherently is going to get rid of a lot of the consequences that polyps have.
When you touch me tenderly.
And then by doing, you hear this abrupt connecting of the folds. Again, we're talking aspirate abrupts.
When you touch me tenderly.
T is an unvoiced consonant. So your folds can't be together and oscillating when you have an unvoiced consonant. And so she's jumping from an unvoiced consonant, effectively an aspirate, and she's using the aspirate abrupt to kind of launch into these belts. And that's really, really, really tricky because, as we established, when you have the aspirate abrupt, boom, right? They're coming together quickly, abruptly, right? But because she is so ridiculously good with her breath, it's not strained. It sounds great. It's completely on pitch. I mean, like, I might be jealous.
The way I feel. You got me feeling.
Come on! I just casually drop a whistle in the middle of the phrase. No big.
Now in the morning.
Her mic technique is it's so refined. Like, there are a bunch of moments here that are really, really awesome. So as you move closer to a microphone, you get what's called the proximity effect, right? So I actually have a low cut on this mic, so a lot of the lows don't bleed in. But even as I go closer with that low cut, you can hear that the lower frequencies increase. And actually, I can prove this because some people, I don't know about physics. Well, listen up, Dunning-Kruger. I'm about to shut your mouth. Right there. You see that? She keeps the mic closer than she does here. Brings it very close. That bright vowel will also help project the lows. The fundamental, which is the lowest frequency that's being sung, I'm gonna have to go back to spectrogram land. So the fundamental is this like low note, right? That's the lowest note. If you're not a low voice, if you don't have a substantial size to your vocal folds, this will never be that loud by itself. And so one of the things you can do, a little trick here, is as soon as I brighten the vowel to an extreme, you see how much more there's more frequencies. That fundamentally makes it louder, but also as frequencies get higher, we perceive them, we human beings perceive these frequencies as being louder because of the way our ear is tuned, right? This is noticeably not as loud according to the spectrogram, right? But we don't hear things evenly. Our peak, the frequencies that sound the loudest, and even like up to 3 times louder than other frequencies, 3 kilohertz, 3000 hertz, that is going to be how we hear some of the lower notes from higher voices. And so it's just a really cool trick. I think it's really slick. And we go to Bosch. Little false fold distortion, yeah. Oh, Oh my god, her belts are so clean. It's so clean. Name me another singer who, when they belt, it just sounds like a natural extension of their range. Like, this is so smooth.
I feel your heartbeat messing with.
Oh, everyone obsesses over her high notes, and yeah, okay. I mean, let's be real, they're ridiculous and impressive. So, understandable. But having an even scale in singing is one of the hardest elements of singing. It is one thing to hit a note, it's another to hit a note well. You know, like, is that a Tarzan impression or a high note, right? But it takes a lot to hit the high note well. So it's not just about hitting the note, but also having very smooth transitions between registers using different techniques is extremely difficult and takes many, 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 many years of diligence to be able to do that. And I've never, like, her belts are so smooth. I mean, Mariah is definitely the master of range and register. Again, props to these backup singers. Mariah Carey is so unique in her being a recording artist. Like, people sleep on her tunes and her ability to work on audio. Mariah Carey's in a very unique position in her career in that when she was coming up, recordings were extremely expensive. I mean, we're talking like the Black Album from Metallica was $1 million album. It took $1 million to make. So because of analog was just really expensive. And so she was unique in that she released a lot of albums during an era where analog was very expensive and it was cost prohibitive to make albums. And so what she does so well on her albums is vocal overdubs. I mean, it's some of the best overdubbing that there is. And it's very, very difficult to replicate it, but these backup singers are incredible. Listen to how well they're blending with her. Come on. And the intonation is so precise, it almost sounds like a recording, right? It doesn't sound real. It's so good. And these runs, oh my god. Like, she belting, right? If your folds are fat and thick, they're not going to move well. Okay? Runs are best done when you thin out the vocal folds. Okay? Because, you know, the smaller the thing is, the more easily it moves. It's very, very difficult to do a run with belt, and she's not. What she's doing is she's tilting and untilting very, very quickly. So she's belting, boom, thins the folds, then goes back to the belt, like larynx gymnastics, you know, like she's dismounting, you know, she's stuck the landing. Like that. Belt away from belt away from belt, like it's so fast. Look at this expression. That expression says, yeah, I did it. Yeah, that happened. I rock. That's what that is. That's what that expression is. Her sense of dynamics are really great. So this use the volume, use the dynamic range, so the volume that she's bringing in, and see if you can paint a picture, right? That's how I would think of phrasing in this instance. Her dynamic control, her use of mic technique is preposterous. Even when she was whistling, she used mic technique. How many people do you know that when they do a whistle, they're like, and I'm going to phrase this with the microphone. She's doing it here too. One thing, if we can spot it, and this is really important, notice when she opens her mouth quite a bit, we're getting a little bit of rasp in that situation. And then pay attention to when she belts with like a little bit of a closed mouth. The tone difference is dramatic, but you have to look for it. I think Mariah has a flute player in her throat.